Welcome to Paul's Kitchen. Today we're talking about cooking veg. Now there's a number of methods we can use to cook veg, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then we're going to go through from there. We're going to talk about the dish we're going to cook today, the equipment, the ingredients, and our method. Hopefully you will all have a recipe we can follow for today, which is going to be mashed potatoes, sausage, and vegetables cooked various ways. Thank you for joining me. So first of all, the different veggies, different ways of cooking vegetables. So, best way to cook vegetables is to steam. They hold all the nutrients in. And the vegetables that are best suited to steaming are things like broccoli, French beans, cauliflower, mange tout. We can also blanch veg. Now that's putting a pan of boiling water on the stove with some salt, adding our vegetables to it and cooking it as short a time as possible. Things like broccoli, French beans, cauliflower are also suited to this method. And what we're looking for realistically is to serve vegetables, those type of vegetables, what's called andante, which is a little bit of chew in them, not quite, a little bit of crunch in them. But obviously that depends on what your customers like. If your customers are older, you might find they want their vegetables well cooked. So that's a decision you have to make when you're talking to your customers. We talked about last week about stir fry, and that was cooking thin strips of vegetables quickly in oil. Very healthy way of cooking. You can also boil your vegetables in water. Here the kind of vegetable you use, potatoes, carrots, swede, lots of the root vegetables that need to be cooked thoroughly through. You could roast your vegetables. Roasting means cooked in the oven in oil. So we're talking here about potatoes, parsnips, you could do beetroots, celeriac, butternut squash are all good vegetables you can roast. You can also bake. Classic example of baking is jacket potatoes. Very healthy way of cooking. We could also shallow fry. That's a frying pan, a little bit of oil, and the kind of things we could cook are onions, mushrooms. We could do a mirepoix where we could fry it in a little bit of oil, and we talk about sweating vegetables, where we put them in a little bit of oil in a pan and we don't colour them. And we also talk about caramelise, where we put our vegetables in some hot oil and we colour them. So an example of caramelised would be onions, which we'll do today. We could also deep fry, and the classic is chips. We could do onions, that's another one we could deep fry. You could also batter some of your ingredients. For example, we could batter mushrooms, batter onions, and we could deep fry those as well. We can also grill our vegetables. So that could be tomatoes, mushrooms are examples of that. And we also could griddle, and that's using a pan like that, where we get the marks across on the vegetables, and we'll look at that today. So that's some of the examples of the ways that you can cook vegetables. Now, if we look at our recipe, it tells us the equipment we're going to need today. So you're going to need a cutting board, and obviously something underneath to stop it slipping. I've laid out some trays to put my vegetables in, and also somewhere to put my rubbish in. I've got a cook's knife, I've got a paring knife, potato peeler, and a steel. And when you're sharpening your knives, that little bit of an angle there, and slowly, don't rush it, yeah? And away from anybody else. We don't want to be cutting people. Put that there. You see I've got no knives on my board is nice and clear. We've also got some pans. I've got a large pan for my potatoes, slightly smaller pan for my broccoli, I have got a frying pan which is going to be for my onions, the griddle pan which is going to be for my courgettes, and in my oven I've got a grill which I'm going to put in for my tomatoes and my sausages. We've also got a colander and a sieve which we need when we're draining the vegetables, and also a plate to serve our dish on. Ingredients wise, I've got all my ingredients on a tray ready. You see I've got everything laid out ready, so I know how much I need and I'm ready to go. I've got my sausages. Now 2 sausages to a portion, 3, it's up to you. We're going to do quite a lot of veg today, so hopefully meal will serve less meat and more vegetables. So I'm going to just go 2 sausages and plenty of vegetables, and that way we'll get a more balanced plate. Now on the sausages, check they're in date, check they look right, check the back of your hand they feel cold, yeah? How, when you open them, smell them. Do they smell fresh, or you go, whoa, yeah? So use your senses to check the food is good quality. And the same with the vegetables. If you've got vegetables wrapped, check the dates, and on the broccoli, make sure it's a nice colour, it's nice and bright and green, yeah? Make sure your tomatoes haven't got any mould on, they're not all squashy and horrible, yeah? So make sure the quality of your vegetables is correct. So you should have your equipment, your ingredients. We should be working safely. You can see I've got an apron on again to keep myself clean and keep my outside clothes a little bit off the food we're using. We've set ourselves up nice and tidily. Make sure you wash your hands, and then we're ready for our setup.